Did Mike Tyson actually win any rounds against Jake Paul, or was this just another celebrity boxing circus? Typically, when I do this kind of boxing analysis, I ask who really won. But in this case, I think it's very clear who really won, so we have to shift our focus to how close the judges got the score to the actual score of the fight, and whether or not Mike Tyson was actually able to win any rounds. So instead of seeking the answer, let's prove who really won Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson with all the details and evidence. I scored this fight round by round using the 4 official judging criteria: clean punching, effective aggression, ring generalship, and defense, and ran it all through my custom algorithm. No bias, no hype, just real boxing analysis and honest scoring. Round 1. A quick note that these are 2-minute rounds and there are only 8 of them in this fight. Clean punching. 6 clean punches landed by Jake Paul in the first round and only 1 by Mike Tyson. You can see them listed on your screen here, and therefore I gave the round 10-7 in clean punching to Jake Paul. Effective aggression. This goes to Mike Tyson by a wide margin in round 1. He was quickly chasing down Jake Paul for almost the full round, putting Jake Paul in a reactive mode, trying to get away, and finally settling down in the last 40 seconds or so, trying to defuse Mike Tyson's attack with a few cleanly landed jabs. Effective aggression, 10-8, Mike Tyson. Ring generalship. Despite the fact that Jake Paul outlanded Mike Tyson 6-1, they were most certainly fighting within the pace and tone that Mike Tyson was demanding for all but maybe 15 seconds of this round. Even after being jabbed, Mike Tyson only took a second or two to reimpose his fast, aggressive tone. Ring generalship, 10-8, Mike Tyson. Let's talk defense. And you can see all the defensive moves by both Jake Paul and Mike Tyson on your screen here. If we categorize them into the defensive categories, I gave 7 points to each fighter for the high guard, 9-8 for ducking to Mike Tyson, 10-8 bobbing and weaving Mike Tyson, 8 points to either fighter for parrying, blocking 8-7 Mike Tyson, footwork 10-7 Jake Paul, and clinching 9-8 Jake Paul. Taking the 4 scoring categories together, the algorithm spits out 8.629 points for Jake Paul to 8.728 points for Mike Tyson. A razor-thin win in this round for Mike Tyson, 10-9. And typically during my fight analyses, I will show you my running score after each round compared to the running score for each of the 3 judges at ringside, who in this case are Lawrence Cole, David Iabuchi, and Jesse Reyes. However, I could not find online anywhere their official scorecards except for the final score only. I don't have it round by round, so I'll give you my running scorecard and the running punch totals. As of right now, 6-1. Round 2. Clean punching. Again, Jake Paul lands 6 punches in this round to Mike Tyson's 1. You can see them listed on your screen, and therefore I gave clean punching to Jake Paul, 10-7. Effective aggression. Mike Tyson was more aggressive during the first minute with forward movement and was effective in making Jake Paul move away. Mike Tyson's aggressiveness and effectiveness both waned in the second minute. Jake Paul stayed on the outside looking for opportunities and was effective in aggressive bursts in the first minute and less so in the second minute. And therefore I gave 9 points to Mike Tyson for effective aggression, 9 points for aggressiveness, and 10 for effectiveness to Jake Paul. Ring generalship. After Mike Tyson's initial flurry, Jake Paul controlled action and tone for most of the round. He was elusive, stayed just out of range, landed a few clean punches, and kept Mike Tyson from attaining a rhythm. Ring generalship, 10-9, Jake Paul. Let's talk defense. And you can see all the defensive movements listed on your screen by Mike Tyson and Jake Paul here. We'll categorize them into the various defensive categories. High guard I gave to Jake Paul, 8-7, ducking 9-7 Mike Tyson, bobbing and weaving 10-9 Mike Tyson, parrying 7 points to both men, they did not parry, blocking 8-7 Mike Tyson, footwork 10-7 Jake Paul, and 8 points to each man for defensive clinching. Taking the 4 scoring categories together, the algorithm spits out 9.467 points for Jake Paul to 8.200 points for Mike Tyson. A wide margin in this round, 10-9, Jake Paul. And as we take another look at the running score, I now have the fight a draw, 19-19, and the total accumulated punches, 11 for Jake Paul, 2 for Mike Tyson. Round 3, clean punching. Jake Paul went off in this round, landing 18 punches to Mike Tyson's 2. You can see them all listed on your screen here, and therefore I had to give clean punching to Jake Paul, 10-7. Effective aggression. Mike Tyson came out again with an aggressive start, but Jake Paul neutralized it in the first 20 to 25 seconds with how many clean punches he was landing. In the round overall, Jake Paul's consistent aggression in spurts outdid Mike Tyson's ineffective aggression that was almost exclusively at the beginning of the round. Effective aggression, 9 points for aggressiveness, 8 for effectiveness to Mike Tyson, 9 for aggressiveness, 10 for effectiveness to Jake Paul. Ring generalship. Jake Paul controlled pace and tone for 80% of the round, using good counters, defense, and timing to land a good number of clean punches, thus neutralizing the pace and tone that Mike Tyson was trying to set. Ring generalship, 10-8, Jake Paul. Let's talk defense. Not a whole lot of defensive maneuvers by either man, but you can see them listed on your screen here. And taking a look at them in categories, high guard, 8 points to both fighters, ducking 8-7 Jake Paul, bobbing and weaving 10 points to both fighters, parrying 8-7 Mike Tyson, blocking 8-7 Mike Tyson, footwork 8 points to both fighters, and clinching 7 points to both fighters. Taking the 4 scoring categories together, the algorithm spits out a wide margin for Jake Paul, 9.438 to 7.833, a clear 10-9 round for Jake Paul. And having another look at my running score, I now have the fight 29-28 Jake Paul. The cumulative number of punches thus far in the fight, 29 for Jake Paul to only 4 for Mike Tyson. Round 4. Clean punching. Jake Paul lands 9 punches in this round to Mike Tyson's 1. We're starting to see a pattern here, just not a lot of output from Mike Tyson, and therefore I had to give clean punching to Jake Paul, 10-7. Effective aggression. Jake Paul was aggressive about half the time, but was effective in causing a reaction with every aggressive advance. Mike Tyson was aggressive for even less of the beginning of this and was largely ineffective. The glove biting by Mike Tyson is becoming more pronounced now. He's biting his glove, and he did talk about that at the end of the fight. Effective aggression, 8 points to Mike Tyson, 9 for aggressiveness, and 10 for effectiveness to Jake Paul. Ring generalship. Jake Paul was the ring general. With a mix of aggressive punching and staying out of range, he controlled both the action and the tone for almost the entire round, leaving Mike Tyson part searching for openings and part gun-shy. Ring generalship, 10-8, Jake Paul. You can see all the defensive maneuvers here on your screen, and Mike Tyson showing a lot more defense now as Jake Paul is starting to pour it on offensively. Categorizing those moves: high guard, 8-7 Mike Tyson, ducking, 8-7 Mike Tyson, bobbing and weaving, 10-7 Mike Tyson, parrying, 8-7 Mike Tyson, blocking, 9-7 Mike Tyson, footwork, 10-7 Jake Paul, and clinching, 7 points to both men. Taking the 4 scoring categories together, another wide margin for Jake Paul in this round, 9.352 points to 7.729 points, normalizing to the 10-point must system, 10-9 Jake Paul. Taking another look at my running score, I now have it 39-37 Jake Paul. The gap is widening, and the total number of punches landed, 39 for Jake Paul, 5 for Mike Tyson. Round 5. Clean punching. Another outburst by Jake Paul in this round. He goes all the way up to 14 clean landed punches to Mike Tyson's 2, and therefore again I had to give clean punching to Jake Paul, 10-7. Effective aggression. Jake Paul was much more consistently aggressive than Mike Tyson in this round and was very effective in landing punches and keeping Mike Tyson from advancing forward, except for very few exceptions. Mike Tyson bobbed, weaved, and circled well, but was almost always in a neutral or backward moving situation. Effective aggression, 10-8 Jake Paul. Ring generalship. Jake Paul controlled pace and tone, consistently moving in to land and then out of Mike Tyson's range, leaving him frozen in place. Ring generalship, 10-8 Jake Paul. We take a look at the defense, and again, Mike Tyson with lots of defensive maneuvers trying to avoid Jake's punches, and as many of Jake Paul's punches landed, Mike Tyson avoided this many of them, so still doing well defensively, but just not a lot of offense. Categorizing the defense: high guard, 10-7 Mike Tyson, ducking, 8-7 Mike Tyson, bobbing and weaving, 9-7 Mike Tyson, parrying, 8-7 Mike Tyson, blocking, 10-7 Mike Tyson, footwork, 9-8 Jake Paul, and clinching, 7 points to both men. Taking the 4 scoring categories together, another wide margin for Jake Paul, 9.457 points in the algorithm for him versus 7.814 for Mike Tyson, normalizing to the 10-point must system, a clear 10-9 round for Jake Paul. And as we have a look at the running score, I now have it 49-46 Jake Paul. The total number of punches landed: Jake Paul 53, Mike Tyson 7. Round 6. Clean punching. Jake Paul landed 9 clean punches in this round to Mike Tyson's 0. I could not find a clean landed punch, and again, let me remind you, I'm watching much of these rounds in 10% slow motion, so I can understand if the judges see it differently in real time and real speed. So once again, clean punching, 10-7 Jake Paul. Effective aggression. Jake Paul was much more consistently aggressive, and Mike Tyson was frozen in place, looking for openings that never materialized. He tried a few times, but I never saw any of his punches land. Jake Paul is too defensively responsible, and as you can tell, this guy, who I think might be in the Tyson camp, looks concerned. Effective aggression, 10-8 Jake Paul. Ring generalship. More of the same. Jake Paul controlled pace and tone, consistently moving into land and then out of Mike Tyson's range, leaving him frozen in place. Ring generalship, 10-8 Jake Paul. Let's talk defense. And here are all the defensive maneuvers by both men. Jake Paul relegating himself to just stepping away now. He doesn't have to do anything fancy defensively because Mike Tyson is just not offering up a lot of offense. Categorizing those maneuvers: high guard blocking, 9-7 Mike Tyson, ducking, 8-7 Mike Tyson, bobbing and weaving, 10-7 Mike Tyson, parrying, 7 points to both men, blocking, 8-7 Mike Tyson, footwork, 10-8 Jake Paul, and clinching, 7 points to both fighters. Taking the 4 scoring categories together, the algorithm spits out 9.486 points for Jake Paul to 7.729 points for Mike Tyson, another wide margin of victory for this 10-9 round 6 for Jake Paul. And as we look at the running score, I now have it widening even further, 59-55 Jake Paul. The total number of punches landed, 62-7 in favor of Jake Paul. Round 7. Clean punching. Jake Paul lands 10 clean punches in round 7 to Mike Tyson's 2. You can see what they all were here on the screen, and the clock stopped coming up for some reason, so I'm showing now the time left on the media player instead of the real round time, because that's all I had to go by here. So again, clean punching goes to Jake Paul, 10-7. Effective aggression. Another short aggressive burst by Mike Tyson to begin the round, and it didn't take Jake Paul long to neutralize him and deliver sporadic aggression of his own, while Mike Tyson could not find an opening and was totally neutralized on the couple additional attempts he made. Jake Paul wasn't aggressive often, but was very effective. Effective aggression, 8 points Mike Tyson, 9 points for aggressiveness and 10 points for effectiveness to Jake Paul. Ring generalship. Jake Paul controlled pace and tone. He dictated when he would punch, when he would stay at a range, and when he would keep Mike Tyson's few advances from materializing. Ring generalship, 10-8 Jake Paul. Let's talk defense. And now a lot more defense from Mike Tyson because more punches are coming from Jake Paul. Jake not having to do much defensively at all, and you can see those on your screen here. 10-8 for the high guard blocking Mike Tyson. 7 points to both men for ducking, bobbing and weaving, 10-8 Mike Tyson. Parrying, 8-7 Mike Tyson. Blocking, 10-7 Mike Tyson. Footwork, 8 points to both men. Clinching, 7 points to both men. And if we take the 4 scoring categories together, the algorithm spits out 9.352 points for Jake Paul to 7.814 points to Mike Tyson, normalizing to the 10-point must system, a wide 10-9 round for Jake Paul. Having another look at that running score, I now have it 69-64 Jake Paul. The total number of punches landed, 72 Jake Paul to 9 for Mike Tyson. The 8th and final round. And Mike Tyson still not able to get off with clean punching, with only 1 clean landed punch to Jake Paul's 17 in the last round. And therefore, once again, clean punching goes to Jake Paul, 10-7. Effective aggression. Many clean landed punches by Jake Paul, who had all the effective aggression in this round except for one aggressive moment by Mike Tyson, and therefore effective aggression goes to Jake Paul, 10-8. Ring generalship. Jake Paul controlled the pace and tone of this round from beginning to end in every way. He landed a lot of clean punches and kept Mike Tyson from accomplishing any offense at all. Mike Tyson did have many good defensive moves to avoid even more punches from landing, but he was hit consistently and offered almost nothing in return. Ring generalship, 10-8, Jake Paul. Having a look at the defensive moves, you see a lot more from Mike Tyson than Jake Paul, as we previously mentioned, and if we categorize those, it's high guard blocking 9-7 Mike Tyson, ducking 8-7 Mike Tyson, bobbing and weaving 10-7 Mike Tyson, parrying 8-7 Mike Tyson, blocking 10-7 Mike Tyson, footwork 9-8 Mike Tyson, and clinching 7 points to both fighters. Taking the 4 scoring categories together for the final round, 9.429 points to Jake Paul to 7.843 points to Mike Tyson, a wide margin of victory in the 8th and final round for Jake Paul, 10-9. And the last few seconds of the fight end with Jake Paul showing respect to the icon Mike Tyson, bowing to his greatness, and spoke glowingly about him after the fight, in fact. And so now the time that you've all been waiting for has come. The winner of Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson is, as you probably thought, Jake Paul, 79-73. And so let's have a look at the 3 judges at ringside and how they scored it. Lawrence Cole had the fight 80-72, a whitewash for Jake Paul. Judge David Iabuchi had it 79-73 for Jake Paul, and Judge Jesse Reyes also had it 79-73 Jake Paul. As we take a look at some of the accumulated stats that I counted in this fight, the maximum number of punches landed for Jake Paul, 18, his minimum 6, Mike Tyson's maximum in one round, 2, and his minimum 0. Jake Paul averaged 11 clean landed punches per round, and Mike Tyson averaged 1. So the total number of punches landed in this fight, 89 for Jake Paul, to 10 for Mike Tyson. Interestingly, on the telecast, they said it was 78 Jake Paul to 18 for Mike Tyson. I don't know if they were trying to make it seem a little less bad, but again, I watched the fight in 10% slow motion most of the time. That being said, there are some camera angles where you can't see whether punches land or not, but there just were not 8 questionable punches for Mike Tyson that I couldn't see. So the judging awards in this fight go to David Iabuchi and Jesse Reyes for getting the correct score right on the money. Lawrence Cole right there, only a point off as well. But then again, this fight wasn't that hard to score compared to some others I've scored. Let's have a quick look at the margin of victory in each round. You can see it by the color coding. Green means it's a wide margin of victory, yellow means it's a medium margin of victory, and red means it was a tight round. It could go either way. So as we said, 2 judges scored this as I did, 79-73, and 1 scored it 80-72. Round 1, the one that Mike Tyson won on my scorecard, was the only one that was close and therefore questionable, and therefore you could argue this fight is 80-72. And now you know the answer to the question, did Mike Tyson really win a round against Jake Paul? So based on the actual judging criteria, clean punching, effective aggression, ring generalship, and defense, that's how I scored Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson round by round. If you're tired of the hype and hot takes and want real boxing breakdowns that actually follow some rules, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment with your own scorecard, and tell me which fight you want me to break down next. Let's keep the conversation honest and find out who really won.